y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Smoke Break, where I teach you my own personal spins on a lot of barbecue classics, smoking meats, grilling, and general cooking recipes, of course. Today, what is on the menu? Smoke tri-tip. I got this beautiful hunk of meat choice from the local butcher shop. I'm gonna rub it down, season it with a little bit of the Kinder's red garlic jalapeno rub. It's gonna have a little bit of a kick. Also the Kinder's steak rub. A little bit of garlic, a little bit of hickory smoked sea salt, and of course, gotta crack open that local 805 Firestone Walker beer. Very refreshing out here. I'm gonna use the Masterbuilt Sportsman Elite electric smoker today. Half cherry chips, half apple wood chips. I'll show you the rest in a little bit. So without further ado, let's fire. All right guys, so whenever you're working with a tri-tip, always remember that the grain runs two separate directions. This way and that way. So whenever you're making your cuts when you're ready to eat, just make sure you cut across or against the grain and you should be fine. So these are the seasonings, like I said, I'm gonna work with today. We're gonna start off with a little garlic rub, garlic powder. I'm gonna go very liberal with this right now because tri-tip can take all the seasonings. It's a good hunk of meat right here. It's actually my favorite cut of meat from the cow. I don't eat it as often, but when I do, I make damn sure it's worth it. I'll pat that in a little bit. And I did some trimming. There was a lot of thick fat around here that I trimmed off a little bit. It's okay to have some fat, but you don't want that really thick fat because it will not render down properly. And it's just gonna be pointless to try to eat that. It's a little windy out here, so pardon me if my seasoning goes flying. I'm sure the dogs will lick it up. Next, we're gonna do the steak rub. Kinder's my favorite brand personally. Such a beautiful day out here. It's getting a little warm though. It's when I wanted to put the smoker on. And then finally the red garlic crush, red pepper and jalapeno. This is gonna add a little bit of a kick, so it depends on how much of a kick you personally like. I don't want it too hot because I'm not the only one eating this. But it'll add a nice little flair to it. And all this excess on the board, I'll be sure to mop up. Then to hit the sides, I just kind of roll it over. Just kind of get everything right there, pat it down to make sure it gets the sides of it. No season goes unwasted. So I'm gonna let this sweat out a little bit. It's gonna pull moisture from the meat. It's gonna look beautiful in a little bit. And I'm gonna go fire up the smoker. I'll be back in a bit. So today I'm firing up the Masterbuilt Sportsman Elite electric smoker using Kingsford cherry barbecue smoking chips. I actually did half and half apple and half cherry. Cover that up. Open this up real quick. The water tray's right there to add some moisture. Set it on in there. I know it's dirty. From time to time I'll deep clean this, but what's the point if you're just gonna put miles on it? This just lets you know I've used this many, many times and it's always been so good. I'm gonna wait for this to come up to temp. I'm gonna try to keep it at around 225 to 250. If it creeps up to 275, that's totally fine with me as well. I'm gonna smoke it till it gets to an internal temperature of about 125 to 130. Once you take it out of the smoker, it's still gonna carry over smoke when you let it rest. So as long as it's at 135, I think that's a perfect temperature. So stay tuned. All right guys, the smoker has reached about 250. Let's open it up. Make sure to watch that smoke because it will go into your eyes. I wish you could smell it out here right now. That cherry and apple wood chips are just fire. Smelling up the neighborhood right now. Some moisture's kind of pulled out from the meat. Let's throw this bad boy in there. Stick it up. And always remember, how you lay it in the smoker is exactly how it's gonna cook. So if you wanna shape it, you know, just gotta make sure it's uniform. Right in the middle, I think that's good enough. We'll be back. All right, y'all, so the tri-tip's been on the smoker for about 40 minutes so far, and look at that. It just looks absolutely beautiful. And on the bottom, I chopped up some mushrooms, red onions, and sweet peppers. I'm letting all the juices drip into that. I also added some beef broth. It's gonna basically be a au jus if you think about it, because we're making tri-tip sandwiches with this. The internal is almost reaching where I want it to be, which is 130. So I'm gonna real quick glaze it with another Kinder's marinade. Add a little more flavor to it. That's just looking beautiful, man. I'm not really gonna brush it, I'm just trying to dab it on there. You can smell this stuff. It's beautiful. So we'll be back in a bit once it hits that internal temperature. I'll show you how to cut it up. You know, humans ain't the only ones that gotta eat around here, so gotta feed the cows. There you go, buddy. All right, guys, we've reached the internal from what my probe is letting me know. Yep, we're good. It's gonna be over 130 right now. Yeah, we're good. It's still gonna cook as it rests, so we're gonna take that out of here. I'm gonna let these continue cooking until they soften up a little bit more. The time has finally come, ladies and gentlemen. This tri-tip, it only took about 45 minutes to smoke at 250 degrees. There's really good seasoning on the bark, set perfectly. The marinade's great. I still have the mushrooms and onions in the smoker because they're not quite softened like I want. But for now, let's slice this up. And always remember that the grain runs 2 separate directions, so cut against it. Oh yeah. Look at that. Real quick, I gotta get a taste. Look at that, perfectly medium rare. That's exactly how I want it. So tender. Let's take a bite. Perfection. This right there, 130 degrees internal is exactly where you want it. I'm gonna continue slicing this. We're gonna assemble some tri-tip sandwiches. We're gonna dip it in the au jus, and that's what we're having for dinner tonight. If you're interested in smoking this, I guarantee this is the way to do it. I use cherry wood, apple wood chips, but of course you can make this recipe your own however you decide to do it. So I appreciate you guys checking me out for another video. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel, like it. Real quick, forgot the taste tester. Ace, come here. That's Dixie. Here, let's do Dixie first. Come on, baby. There you go. Ace. There we go. I appreciate you guys checking me out for another episode of Smoke Break. My name is Matthew Serrano, aka Infamous M, and we'll be back with more weekly content. Have a great night.